In the quiet town of New Philadelphia, Ohio, two teenage girls set out for a routine trip to the video store. It was May 2000. Elizabeth, Liz, Reiser, and Brandi Hicks, two best friends on the cusp of high school graduation, had no idea they were about to be thrust into a nightmare. Just days from finishing school, Liz and Brandi were full of hope, eager for summer and the future beyond. Their lives brimmed with possibility until everything changed. Before we go any further, I want to recommend Through My Tears, A Wash in Forgiveness by Becky Reiser. It's a deeply moving account of a parent's worst nightmare, a powerful story of grief and grace. I highly recommend it. In the early hours of May 24th, 2000, at 1:30 a.m., a police officer patrolling the streets spotted someone walking alongside the road. Initially, assuming it was a drunk, he quickly realized it was a young girl, soaked, barefoot, and frantically waving for help. She was crying, hysterical, and kept repeating that her friend was missing. The officer took her to the Dover Police Department. On the way, he noticed her injuries: a bloodshot eye, a wound below her mouth, red marks around her neck, signs of strangulation. At the station, officers tried to warm her up and calm her down. Eventually, she began to speak. The girl was Brandi Hicks. She told officers she'd been raped, strangled with a shoelace, and thrown from a railroad trestle. When thrown, her foot had caught on the rail, leaving her dangling upside down above the river before she fell 30 feet into the log-jammed water. She clung to a log, playing dead as her attacker lingered nearby, smoking and kicking stones. After what felt like an eternity, he left. Brandi said her friend, Liz Reiser, was still out there, but she feared Liz was dead. Her memory was hazy, her body freezing. She was given dry clothes but kept her underwear on for examination, then taken to the hospital. Under medical care, Brandi stabilized and spoke more clearly. She remembered Liz being left in a field but couldn't recall the exact location. Soon after, Brandi's car was found, muddy but otherwise unremarkable. Dover police sprang into action. Sergeant Ryan and Trooper Richmond discovered Liz's body on Harmon Hill Road. At first, Richmond thought it was a pile of dirt, until he saw the motionless figure. Liz's throat had been slashed so deeply her head was nearly severed. Her eyes were open, her mouth agape. Cross-shaped wounds marked her back, a deep gash ran down her spine, and her hands were bound. It was a brutal, senseless murder. The night before, May 23rd, Liz had rushed out the door, excited for a sleepover at Brandi's. They planned to attend Brandi's choir recognition, then rent movies for the night. Liz had never spent a school night away from home and was thrilled. After picking out films, the girls were approached by a man in a black shirt and a blue hat. He introduced himself as Mark and asked for a ride, claiming he'd walked 30 miles from Massillon. Liz was hesitant, but Brandi agreed to help. He even offered them $20 and said he lived near South Elementary School. Mark sat behind Liz in the car, and as they crossed the Tuscarawas River, he asked to stop and retrieve a package. The girls considered driving off but stayed, feeling guilty. He returned with the package, and they didn't ask what was inside. During the drive, Mark admitted to drug use and claimed he studied psychology at Kent State. As Brandi passed the school, she asked for directions. He said it was another mile. When the air grew more desolate, Brandi insisted they'd gone far enough. That's when Mark pulled out a gun from his package. He demanded money, but the girls had none. Then he directed them to Harmon Hill Road, a remote area. There, he ordered them to remove their shoes and give him their shoelaces. Liz was forced to tie Brandi's hands to the steering wheel. Then Mark tied Liz's hands behind her back. Mark took Liz from the car and led her into the darkness. Brandi watched in terror, and in a nearby field, he ordered Liz to kneel and began his brutal attack. After killing Liz, Mark returned to Brandi, untied her, and made her walk. They saw headlights, hope, but the car crashed, and Mark forced Brandi into his car and drove off. He took her to the East Ohio Gas Company offices, then walked with her. In a strange gesture, he gave her his shoes. He even asked her about her future plans. Eventually, they reached the Tuscarawas River. There, he raped Brandi, then strangled her with shoelaces until she passed out. Brandi awoke to him hitting her, checking if she was dead. She held her breath, playing dead. Satisfied, he shoved her off the bridge. Her foot caught, leaving her hanging upside down. Mark noticed and untangled her, sending her plunging into the river. Brandi clung to a log until he left. Then she crawled to safety. She was alive. Unaware Brandi had survived, Mark, whose real name was Matthew Vaca, returned home. Later, he told his brother-in-law, Jeff Mullenix, they were going on a field trip, their usual code for smoking pot. Matthew confessed to killing a girl, but Jeff didn't believe him at the time. On their field trip, they returned to Harmon Hill Road, where Matthew searched for the broken knife blade. They then went to a truck stop where his wife's aunt spotted him. Fearing she'd notice his bloodstained clothes, he fled. At Walmart, he changed his pants in the parking lot, bought a flashlight, and returned to the scene. He found the blade, placed it in a Walmart bag with his pants, and disposed of it in the Tuscarawas River. The next morning, Matthew returned to the river, likely searching for Brandi. Meanwhile, Brandi was in the hospital. Matthew went to Lake Park and called his mother repeatedly, insisting he'd done nothing wrong. Thankfully, though, his mother reported him to the sheriff. Matthew Vaca was arrested at Lake Park. He would never see freedom again. Matthew Vaca was no stranger to law enforcement in Tuscarawas County. His criminal record stretched back to 1991, beginning with underage consumption. Over the years, he racked up convictions for petty theft, DUI, and multiple traffic violations. In 1997, he pleaded guilty to 15 counts of forgery after stealing and cashing blank checks totaling nearly $1 million. He completed a drug and alcohol program and served time in county jail. That same year, he was indicted for felony theft and placed on probation with a curfew and a no-contact order involving his brother-in-law, Jeff Mullenix. On June 21, 2000, Vaca appeared before the grand jury. He was charged with aggravated murder, attempted aggravated murder, aggravated robbery, abuse of a corpse, 2 counts each of kidnapping and rape, and 3 counts of tampering with evidence. If convicted on all counts, he wouldn't be eligible for parole until age 123. Prosecutor Amanda Spies Bornhurst chose not to pursue the death penalty after consulting with Brandi Hicks and Liz Reiser's family. At the sentencing hearing on June 30th, Liz's parents addressed Vaca directly. Becky Reiser spoke with heartbreaking clarity. "You robbed me and my husband and my boys of seeing her graduate, of seeing her wedding. I'll never be the mother of a bride. She wanted to be a wife and mother so desperately. She had her children's names picked out. You have taken more from her than I can ever tell you. We have forgiven you. Jesus Christ instructs us to forgive you. We will never forget." Brandi also stood before Vaca. "Liz is a great person. Everyone loved her. I've picked up the phone so many times to call her, only to remember she's gone. I didn't want to forgive you, but forgiveness is a decision, not a feeling, so I do forgive you. I just wanted you to know that." The judge sentenced Vaca to 96 years in prison, with each term to be served consecutively. He was declared a sexual-orientated offender. In closing, the judge said, "Mr. Vaca, others have forgiven you, but I believe I speak for many in this community when I say that what you have done will never be forgiven." Liz Rice's life was stolen before it could truly begin. She was a girl full of hope, faith, and kindness, saving herself for a future she believed in, one she never got to see. Brandi Hicks survived, but carries the weight of that night forever. Her courage, her testimony, and her strength helped bring justice, not just for Liz, but for every young woman who's ever been silenced. This story is not just about horror, it's about resilience, about the power of forgiveness in the face of unimaginable pain, and about a community that refused to let Liz's light be extinguished without consequence. Liz's memory lives on, in the words of her mother, in Brandi's survival, and in the hearts of those who continue to speak her name.